My last driving video ended up at the Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip. You can check out those videos. I'll tag one on at the end of this one. But I'm going to go back to a couple of the locations from my last video, most notably the Source restaurant, because I found some old footage of it, courtesy of my friend Kevin and Ann Meyer, who sent me this movie, and also Johnny Depp's house, which is behind this building that there were lawsuits about back in 2006. I was watching a movie. I love this movie. It was called Arnold, back in 1974, I think, or 72, with Stella Stevens. And they filmed actually at Johnny Depp's house. And you get an amazing view of the place. I forgot that it was even in there. So we're going to head back to the Source briefly. This movie is called Alex in Wonderland, Donald Sutherland. And then we'll go behind it. I'll show you that clip from Arnold, and then we'll continue back to the Whiskey A Go-Go. There was a restaurant called The Source, which was a vegetarian restaurant, which was run by a man who was like a guru, and he had like 20 wives. It was considered a cult, but it was a vegetarian restaurant. Then Fabio owned it. It was a Cabo Cantina. Now it's gone, closed down. I'm surprised the building is still here. That's this little gray one here on the right where that person's walking. I can't believe this building is still here. If you remember in my last video, some of the members of the Source family did leave their names etched in the cement alongside the building that are still there. So I'll just give you a brief glimpse of that again. And then the clip from Alex in Wonderland. And Father Yode, who was the head of this organization, his real name was actually Jim Baker, and he was a former military, and I believe he was convicted of bank robbery. He's actually in this scene.
I was about 70.
Well, there's still time. Right? Yeah, there's still time. There's always time. There's always time. There's still time. Move along and sing a song, yeah. Sing a song, yeah. Sing a song. Time for that. There's a time for eating and a time for that. There's a time.
The entire organization had about 100 people, and when Father Yode died in 1975, they eventually disbanded in 1978. This parking structure blocks Johnny Depp's house's view. Used to have a beautiful view. Not anymore. I'll let this guy go. Johnny Depp bought the castle on the hill back in around 1995, I think, and he paid a little less than $2.5 million for it. It used to belong to Hollywood attorney Marvin Mitchelson. The place is called the Mount Calmia Castle. It's named after some plants that grow in this area. And I knew it was a castle. I knew what it looked like, and I was really surprised to see it in the film Arnold. 1973 was when the film was made, and here's Stella Stevens with her new husband in the casket behind her. A wacko, morbid comedy called Arnold.
They said it couldn't be, but just you wait and see. Arnold, you and me through eternity.
I forgot to mention the Mondrian Hotel on the left was also a location back in 1991 where Rob Pilatos tried to do something horrible to himself off a 9th-floor balcony, saying that because of the scandal, the Milli Vanilli scandal, he was one of the people at the forefront of Milli Vanilli. He wasn't one of the singers, but he was visually who we all thought was Milli Vanilli. And it was explained away that he had misapplied a dosage of his prescriptions, combining it with alcohol, made him act irrationally. He bruised his left wrist, but they indicated the bruises were not serious. He will receive psychological counseling at Cedars Sinai Medical Center. That's back in 1991. And, of course, one of my most favorite places in L.A., the Whiskey A Go-Go. Doors with a house band, Goldie Hawn, John Lennon. The Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub opened in 1964. It was actually inside an old bank building. It's not that big. If you go inside the club, it's really not that big of a place. But to think of the legends that played there: Janis, the Kinks, the Who, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Tom Jones, even Sonny and Cher, even the Carpenters played the Whiskey A Go-Go. But not the Beatles, but all four have played it individually. And very famously, after the show where the Beatles played the Hollywood Bowl, they had drinks at the Whiskey with Jane Mansfield, which ended up in a bit of a disaster when George Harrison threw a drink at the photographers. This is one of the places that go-go dancing was invented. It wasn't a very big place, so they had a DJ elevated above the dance floor, and they had these dancers in cages dancing above the dance floor. And the chicks, I think that's where the term comes from, chicks, because the girls dancing up in the cages at the Whiskey A Go-Go. So this is the Whiskey where the Doors for the House band. Goldie Hawn started as a go-go dancer here. But as I mentioned, Johnny Rivers was the first person to perform here. That whole block is going to be torn down. See there against the Viper Room. But I'll tell you the story. Charles Manson supposedly auditioned to play the Whiskey. The book Straight Whiskey by Eric Quisling and Austin Williams tells the story, and I will paraphrase it here. Manson was in the club early, sitting in one of the booths. Business wasn't open yet, and one of the waitresses told him to go. The owner saw the waitress over her shoulder crying, and he asked her what the problem was, and she told him about the little guy sitting in the booth. So Magliari walks over to Manson and demands that he leave and apologize to the waitress. Manson says, "All I said was that she looked good with a glazed apple in her mouth." He demanded again that Manson apologize, and Manson said, "I can have you killed anytime I feel like it." Magliari says, "What?" And Manson says, "You heard me. I can kill you. I'm Jesus." "Is that right? Then I'm God. You lose." He grabbed Manson by the neck and escorted him to the front door, and he threw Manson onto the crowded sidewalk with as much care as he'd show a sack of empty beer cans. Magliari said, "I don't ever want to see your face again." And Manson said, "You'll see it again, pig. I promise you that." And they say after the murders happened that Paul Tate, Sharon's father, dressed like a hippie and hung out here trying to figure out what happened to his kid. That's according to legend. And they say Manson hung out here a lot. I've heard that Terry Melcher met Manson here a couple of times. I heard that Dennis Wilson did too. But the famous Whiskey. And Sharon actually lived up there. This is Clark Street. And she lived up in an apartment on the right. So Sharon lived on Clark Street, and Tex Watson used to live on Larrabee Street, which is that one just behind the Viper Room, which at the time was called the Melody Room. So there's Larrabee Street. There is the last intact block. I'm surprised it's still here. It was slated for demo a long time ago. but it's still here. Now, before the Doors were the house band at the Whiskey, they actually were the house band at a place called the London Fog. Not for very long. And the one, oh gosh, this used to be the Cat Club. It's where Dee Dee Ramone's memorial service was held. So before they were the house band at the Whiskey, they were the house band at the London Fog, which was this place, which I'm not going to go into because there's people, it's actually a proper place of business. But this was the London Fog. Tiny, tiny little place.
The London Fog nightclub opened in 1965, but it was only open for less than a year. Thus, photographs of it are pretty rare. This photograph is from overhead. And imagine the Doors playing in there. It's a barber shop now, and they let me in to take a couple of pictures one time. But imagine the Doors playing in this tiny spot. It was from here that they moved over to the Whiskey, where they became the house band.
And gosh, I think it was Duke's Coffee Shop was here on the left. Yeah.
This location used to be Justin Queso's, owned by my buddy Alfonso. Hey, Alfonso.
Duke's Coffee Shop, which was a really famous coffee shop. It's been gone for so long that I forgot about it. But yeah, it was over here on the left. So leaving the Whiskey, London Fog on the right. There's so many places that have been so many places. You're also going to see the Roxy, which is where they're having their big Rocky Horror 50th anniversary of the movie thing.
This is previously recorded footage.
I'm standing now in front of the Roxy Theater in Los Angeles. It's been the Roxy Theater since 1973. This is where Cheech and Chong and Pee Wee Herman and that's just so many people. Neil Young recorded an album here. The Ramones Rock and Roll High School, the live scenes were shot in here. Lou Adler's owned it. The Rocky Horror Show premiered in America here in 1974, starring Tim Curry. And on the Rocks is the famous club where John Belushi partied on the last night of his life, at Sean Penn's Madonna bachelor party. But anyway, before it was the Roxy, it was Largo. Boobies, boobies, boobies.
You can see on this ad that Largo hosted a dancer called Joni Carson. My friend Eve Golden found burlesque names from all over the country. I like to think that they all danced at Largo. Names like Mimi O'Graff, Ann Anonymous, Ann Atomic, Cass Schmear, Lauren Gitis, and then who could forget Legs Benedict. I like to think they danced at Largo. I hope.
So yes, it was a burlesque bar called Largo. Now next door to it, the Rainbow. Formerly the Villanova restaurant where Vincent Minnelli proposed to Judy Garland, where Marilyn Monroe went on a blind date with Joe DiMaggio, and is now the Rainbow. I guess the reason that they call it the Rainbow is because Vincent Minnelli proposed to Judy Garland here, and Over the Rainbow was too complicated, although this is one of their original sets of matchbooks. They just shortened it to the Rainbow Bar and Grill. It's a great picture of Tim Curry leaning right over here against the wall when he was doing the Rocky Horror Show. So there you are, the Rainbow Bar and Grill.
The Rainbow has been a real rock and roll hangout. Really good food, actually. Burgers, pizza, that sort of thing. It still looks on the inside like it ever did with the red plush booths. And I guess they have a Judy Garland booth there and a Marilyn and Joe booth. I don't know if they know where that is actually, but they do call those booths that. I met Ron Jeremy one night at the Rainbow. He was a regular. In fact, well, he was looking a little worse for wear that night. But this is where his legal problems began. Remember, it was the Villanova, so I actually walked around inside it and I found remnants of the Villanova restaurant upstairs.
That's cool. And that's original. The Villanova is still here. Yeah, they took down the sign for the vampires.
The Vampire's Lair was what they call a drinking club on the second floor of the Rainbow. Alice Cooper formed it in order to become a member. You had to outdrink all the other members. Belushi, John Lennon, Bernie Taupin, Ringo Starr, Mickey Dolenz, Harry Nilsson, Keith Emerson, they were all members of the Hollywood Vampires. And then when I went downstairs, back into the patio, they have a statue there for Lemmy, which now has some of his ashes. And Lemmy was a regular from Motorhead. He had an apartment stumbling distance from the Rainbow, and the Rainbow was devastated when Lemmy died, so they put up this statue for him in the patio. And I ran into some friends.
A second. Do you guys want to say hello?
Okay.
Go on.
You can
Mike,
say hi.
Crystal, just say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, my friends from St. Louis just happened to be here when I was here, so it's nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
You don't care if I put you on a video, do you? Okay, cool. All right. Take care, you guys.
Take care, you guys.
We get 2 pints in the middle?
Sure.
Scarlet. On the left, you see that white building over there. That was Bing Crosby's old offices.
Bing Crosby's offices were there on the left, and I took some video footage of it a few years ago. He operated his businesses until he died out of this building. For years, this was Shamrock Tattoo Shop, owned by Mark Mahoney, a very well-known tattoo shop. The cool thing about it is they still have all the old desks and fixtures in that place from when Bing Crosby's offices were in there. There's been talk for years about them putting a 19-story hotel in its location. Very bizarre-looking one, but so far nothing has happened. I've heard that it will be made an historic building that might save it for a couple of years. There's also talk that it might be picked up and moved if they do build that hotel. Who knows? But I'm positive it'll be gone within 10 years.
There was a place called Gazzari's, and I think it was Mickey Cohen. There was an attempt on his life in front of Gazzari's Club, which was a famous rock and roll club. And Gazzari's is gone. Now it's where the Billboard Club was, and I don't think it's the Billboard Club anymore. It's something else, but it's on the right. You just kind of see that striped pattern there on the right up ahead of us, but I'll be passing it in a sec. So that's where Gazzari's used to be on the right. Gil Turner's Liquor. Oh yeah, and that I did it in another video, but that's where there was a restaurant, Scandia, I believe it was, where the Carpenters were in the room together for the last time. Karen and Richard, alive. Gil Turner's Liquor Store. That's a pretty famous liquor store. That's loads of. It's by Beverly Hills. It's been around forever.
Even the liquor stores in Los Angeles have an interesting history. Gil Turner's Liquor Store has been here since 1953, and it's hit the news several times.
Halle Berry was traveling in this direction, coming from here up to her street, which is up there. Now, she was coming home from a friend's house where all she had was a Diet Coke, she swears, and she was crossing this intersection. She hit a car in the intersection. Then she hit Gil Turner's Liquor Store,
in the intersection.
It was February 23rd, 2000 when Halle Berry hit Gil Turner's liquor store with her car. It was about 2 a.m. She totaled the car that she hit in the intersection. Then she drove back to her home after colliding with the liquor store.
So by the time she turned herself in, you know, there's no way they could do a breathalyzer. This is a famous liquor store. So many people shop in this liquor store. Famously, John Belushi had a mega star fit the night he died. Or, I'm sorry, just about a few days before he died in this place, where he flicked a cigarette at Gil Turner. The Halle hit. There's one mark.
And can't really say the other one.
But for our purposes, probably most famously in 1969, on the night of the Tate murders on Cielo Drive in Benedict Canyon, William Garretson hitchhiked down to the Sunset Boulevard and went to Turner's liquor store. Now, there was another Turner's liquor store down past the Melody Room, which is now the Viper Room, and it's not completely 100% that he went to Gil Turner's, but it's certainly the closest one to where he was going that night. And he hitchhiked back up to Benedict Canyon that night, just a little while before the murders.
The curve in the road up ahead is where Beverly Hills begins. Oh, the old Cock and Bull. That was another nightclub. Jim Morrison used to hang out there. They said one time he got busted for grabbing a tablecloth right here, and a red tablecloth, and going out into the street and sort of doing the bullfighting thing with passing cars. So we're going to dip into Beverly. Actually, I'm going to go past Terry Melcher's house one more time because I haven't seen it in a long time since it was torn down. I'm curious what they've done to it. So up ahead on the right at the corner, you'll see one of the famous Beverly Hills signs. It's there. There's one of those palm trees on the right that Lindsay Lohan drove into. Yeah, in fact, there was a picture, or there was somebody put a sign the next day where the hedges where she drove into that said, "My name's Lindsay, how's my driving?" or something like that. Oh yeah, so I was saying Frank Sinatra used to live on that road and died on that road. No, he actually died at Cedars, and the house is long gone. Died the night
Seinfeld was on, the finale episode of Seinfeld. Beverly Hills, all the streets are lined by one type of tree all the way down, and each street's different. And almost all the streets are 4-way stop signs. Some are 6-way stop signs. Yeah, a couple of years ago, they stopped watering these little islands in the middle, and they were saying they were conserving water. But now that we don't have to conserve water so much anymore, I'm surprised they didn't turn it back on again, because Beverly Hills has pretty high property taxes. I believe it is the fastest response of any police in the country. I think it's like under 2 minutes or something like that if you phone the police here. You'll see the Beverly Hills Hotel briefly on the right. We're going to make this left. Now this is obviously Sunday morning because there is hardly any traffic here. It's pretty easy going. And oh, look at that. There's the George Michael restroom. It looks very much like it did back then. I'm really surprised by that. So I'll just show you from here. One day I'll go back over there for the update, but that is George Michael's old restroom where he was busted. And there are those high-tech temporary ones. I went into one when we were... Here's a new twist on toilets. So temporarily, use these things. So Troy's gonna scan it.
Welcome to Throne. We'll get the door for you. Wave at the light on the door to exit when you're done.
One thing they don't have is a very nice fan. It stinks. Oh, there we go. Tour bus. Now this is fun. This is always fun. This little 6-way tour stop sign. But actually, I'm just going to go forward. Yeah. But this is sometimes it's like shut your eyes when it's your turn, and if you're not aggressive, you're not going to get anywhere. That's just the way LA is. It's not bad. During rush hour, this is a treat. 6-way intersection. They used to have, well, there is a historic society in Beverly Hills, and they used to sort of not allow people to tear down houses, but that's so many tear downs in this neighborhood. Most people know Terry Melcher as the music producer and former resident of 10050 Cielo Drive in 1969-68, before Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate moved in. This house was owned by the Doris Day Trust, and Doris Day actually had a driver's license with this address on it. Terry Melcher died in this house in 2004. The house sold in 2006 for $6.5 million, and in 2023 it sold for $16.5 million and demolished almost immediately.
But that was the house where he lived and where he died. Now I'm going to start heading back because I really have to get on the road to get back home. And I will sing a lullaby. There's something else I can show you over here. Oh, it's going to take a long time to get there. Yeah, I can't do everything I'd like to do. Save it for another time. Oh, was that? Oh, that was Kirk Douglas's last home. I'm sure. And it looks like it doesn't look like it's long for this world. I'm stopping. I was right.
This is the longtime home of Kirk and Ann Douglas. It has the unique feature of paving stones in the back, or at least it used to, with everyone's signature on it who visited the house with probably legendary dinner parties. Kirk Douglas died in this house in February of 2020. He was 103 years old. His wife Ann died in April of 2021 at the age of 102. The house sold in December of 2021 for $9.15 million and has been empty, so I have no doubt it'll be demolished soon. And if anyone out there has those paving stones and want to give them to a nice home, feel free to reach out.
Now, I did take a picture. We used to see him here quite often, actually. And I know I took a picture of him. There was like a curb. Oh, maybe, yeah, there it is. That was what he hit that with his car. I remember that when I saw him. I didn't get a picture of that. I thought I might have, but this looks like it's going to be a tear down. So many celebrities have been in and out of those doors. that was a interesting offshoot. I am fairly positive that will be a teardown.
Sync has connected.
Back on Sunset, heading eastbound. There was up that Alpine Road on the left we just passed over, that about 2 streets up on the corner was Jack Haley's house, the Tin Man. And we used to see Jack, no, not Jack, because Jack was gone by the time I lived here, but we used to see his wife quite often, and she was always very nice. And she always, waved when we tooted the hearse, tooted the hearse horn. Oh, okay. I will show you. I do this all the time, don't I? This is maple, but I believe these are not maple trees. Are these laurel trees, camphor laurel trees, I think. But here was the last home of George Burns. This is where George Burns lived until he died. And where he lived with Gracie. It was the front of the home from the Burns and Allen show. And this is the house where I got that door. And I went in and I got the light switch right after George died. And we used to see George driving up this street, pulling into his driveway. He always went into Hollywood to sign autographs in his office, pulling his driveway. And one day I was here, my buddy and I went up there and kind of waited right here, and he drove up and met him as he got out of the car and talked to him for a minute. I got an autograph. He autographed my Sgt. Pepper album, actually. But something that's kind of cool, George put his own initials here in the driveway, and they're still here. I'll stop this video here at George Burns' house, and the next driving video I release will start from this point. I'll be heading back through more of Beverly Hills and through West Hollywood and Los Feliz and beyond. So stay tuned for the next one. In the meantime, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so very much for your attention. I hope you enjoy these, and until next time.
You heard